It seems like going to space is the latest thing for rich people. Just a few years ago, we thought it would be simply impossible for ordinary people to visit space. But just this year, Blue Origin had a space tourism flight in March. Among the people who went was William Shatner, aka Captain Kirk. Let's look at what he said about the trip and why comedian Pete Davidson pulled out at the last minute from a space flight. First up, let's look at what William Shatner said. William Shatner, who played Captain James Tiberius Kirk throughout the long history of Star Trek, went into space himself at the age of 90, making him the oldest person ever to go to outer space. Unfortunately for him though, the experience was not positive. In an article for The Guardian, the actor explained that instead of feeling hope, the possibility of limitless adventures, and the possibility of a bright future, he experienced an overwhelming sadness. Star Trek was created by Gene Roddenberry to explore a brighter future for humanity, but it's insane to see what has happened, considering that one of the original Enterprise crew members now fears the future more than ever before. When William Shatner turned his head and looked away from the Earth, he came to a terrible realization. To William Shatner, the only thing that he understood is that as humans, we are living on a tiny oasis of life, surrounded by an immensity of death. William Shatner also described how looking at Earth made him feel more connected to this world than ever, and the desire to protect his planet just grew. The then 90-year-old also said that he didn't see an endless supply of planets to discover, adventures to go on, or live beings to interact with. To him, the inviting warmth of our nurturing home was a stark contrast to the darkest darkness we as humans could ever think of. Next up, let's look at what else he said. From what we know of our limited understanding, humans and animals on Earth are the only species in the wide universe to inhabit the one planet that is capable of supporting life. Still, a lot of us have reason to believe that life must somehow, somewhere exist elsewhere. In spite of this, William Shatner felt very depressed when he saw the vastness of space. Of course, in typical Captain Kirk style though, his dejection turned into resolve. That's why we love the Star Trek actor so much. Coming up, let's look at some other reflections that Captain Kirk had. He also reflected on how he was the oldest man to ever go to space. Shatner talked about how concerned he was about the world his grandchildren will grow up in. He took accountability and said that his generation is leaving others with a planet that many people on Earth may find to be only just barely livable in the near future. Even though the actor was saddened by his time in space, he was also quite determined when he came back. To him, his grandchildren and their generation shouldn't just survive. William wants them to be able to have a long and prosperous life, as an old friend used to say. William Shatner continued by saying that, regrettably, the state of science today paints a very sad picture of our future on this planet. When you think about how Shatner was born in 1931, a time of extraordinary technological advancements that his generation now must absolutely take into account in order to lead the world to a better, more positive future. Next, how did he promise to help? The Tech War author urged leaders to work on policies aimed at lowering pollution, changing how food is cultivated, and being less wasteful, along with preserving the current state of the world's seas in light of the impending COP15 UN Biodiversity Summit in Shatner's hometown of Montreal. According to William Shatner's editorial, he also had some regrets about his role in encouraging people to look to the stars for answers to our future. He admitted also that he had to travel to space to realize that Earth is and will always be our only home. Unfortunately, humans have been ruthlessly despoiling it, rendering it uninhabitable. Let's get into how Williams called on world leaders. The actor said that he will make every effort to keep our one and only home safe. He also called on our global leaders and how they owe it enormously to the city of Montreal along with the rest of the world to follow suit. He said that by the end of the decade, world governments will create a treaty to halt the loss of biodiversity. It's amazing to see that someone acknowledges that with the active leadership of Indigenous people and local communities, this will be possible. After all, they have been, historically speaking, pioneers in conserving the environment for our future. He also said that we need world leaders to give their diplomats a strong mandate for these talks and agree on strong targets to change the way we produce food, drastically cut pollution, and to conserve 50% of our planet's land and ocean. Now, what has Shatner been up to lately? The Boston legal star has spent years volunteering and giving back, particularly to environmental causes. For example, due to the exploitation of animals, which violates the Starfleet primary directive, he ordered Norwegian Cruise Line to discontinue all swim with dolphin activities while serving as the honorary captain for the Star Trek The Cruise, which celebrated the 50th anniversary of Star Trek. The longtime ranch owner also sponsors the Hollywood charity Horse Show, which raises money for numerous children's charities, and the Horses for Heroes program of Central Kentucky Riding for Hope. Since coming back to Earth, too, William Shatner has been keeping busy. Most recently, he appeared on The Masked Singer, where the renowned performer was removed in the first episode. He has also been taking on narrator roles in things such as his own documentary, William Shatner War Chronicles, is also currently on the Starz release schedule for the following year. Boldly Go, Reflections on a Life of Awe and Wonder, the actor's most recent memoir, was published earlier this year. Moving on to what Blue Origin really is. The founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, established Blue Origin with the goal of making it possible for millions of people to live and work in space in the future, all for the benefit of Earth, of course. Blue Origin thinks that in order to really protect our planet, humanity will need to grow, explore, discover new sources of energy and minerals, and relocate businesses that put pressure on Earth to other planets. Currently, according to the website, Blue Origin is working on this by creating safe, affordable, and completely and partially reusable launch vehicles that meet the needs of all civic, commercial, and defense customers. The company's initiatives to launch astronauts on New Shepard into space, manufacture reusable liquid rocket engines, develop a highly reusable orbital launch vehicle with New Glenn, and send Americans back to the moon's surface will definitely help the economy. Now, what do we know about Pete Davidson going to space? Everyone was really excited to see what everyone aboard the Blue Origin rocket would have to say about their trip to space, but they were looking forward to one passenger's commentary more than the others. Pete Davidson, the comedian and actor, pulled out at the last minute from going, even though he was going to launch into space on Blue Origin's 20th flight, which was initially planned for March 23rd. There would be 5 other crew members alone with him. Unfortunately, the company tweeted the bad news that Pete will no longer be a part of the mission on March 18th, just days before takeoff. The tweet said that the 20th New Shepard flight by Blue Origin would be rescheduled to take place on March 29th. Soon after, the news that Pete Davidson could no longer travel on this mission with the NS-20 crew came out. Blue Origin and Davidson's team did not immediately respond to requests for comments about why he left. That week, Saturday Night Live did not air new episodes, and the same happened the week after. Blue Origin did, however, add that there would be another passenger taking Pete Davidson's place, and they confirmed his identity a few days later. Coming up, why wasn't the comedian included in the mission? Pete was anxious to go into space, but he was sadly turned away from the 20th flight of Blue Origin. Even though at the time his team didn't elaborate more, we saw the real reason why Pete couldn't go on an episode of Kardashians on Hulu. At the time, Pete Davidson and Kim Kardashian were dating, and on the show, Kim's younger sister Kylie asked Pete's girlfriend if she was happy about him going into space. Kim answered that she didn't think that it was happening. After all, Pete had another job too, and scheduling conflicts can happen because of the sudden change in the flight's date. Pete was reportedly working on a movie at the time, and that's why the date would be conflicting with his schedule. In The Kardashians, Kim admitted that she felt really sorry for Pete since he would want nothing more than to go away from this planet right now and just escape the world for a while. We get you, Pete. Finally, who replaced Pete? Gary Lai, a Blue Origin employee, was announced to be the replacement for the comedian for the 20th flight of the company on March 21, 2022. According to Blue Origin's website, forecasted high winds and recovery procedures caused the launch of NS-20 to be delayed significantly. Marty Allen, Sharon Hague, Marc Hagle, Gary Lai, Jim Kitchen, and George Nield were other members aboard the outer space flight. Gary is best known for designing the New Shepard system and for managing the crew that was in charge of creating many of the crucial safety measures found on the crew capsule. What's even more impressive is that he was one of the original 20 employees when he joined Blue Origin in 2004. It must be insane to see him watch his hard work come to life. Right now, he's currently the senior director and chief architect of New Shepard. Gary is in charge of all updates, new product development, and next-generation designs for the New Shepard company. That's a wrap for this video. What do you think of William Shatner's sad trip to space? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.